And instead of just walking over and being like, we challenge you to a duel or something like that in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're like, hello and welcome back to another episode of Fantastic Time with me, Taher Houssain. Welcome back to another episode. I hope you've had a lovely week, a lovely day, a lovely couple of hours, or whatever. Or I'm not sure if you're watching this first thing in the morning, late at night, whatever's happened. I hope it has been good. Also, if you're wondering what has just happened, well, Arsenal have won the Premier League. I know, crazy, right? After 22, 23 years, that is insanity. I know a lot of you may not care for football. I'm sort of here or there with football. I love it. I support some teams or support a team. However, I don't keep up to date with it. However, I live in North London, and when I tell you the scenes I have been seeing, when I tell you there have been parades, people climbing on top of buses, especially on the night they won, it was just all kinds of, I don't know, pandemonium, if you could put it that way. People are just happy, too happy, in my opinion. When I mean, I'm actually walking around London and I'm seeing people wearing Arsenal shirts who have no business wearing Arsenal shirts. You know those people where just because they live in Arsenal or they live in North London, or I know their dad supports the team or their brother or their mum or whoever supports the team, they think they can claim the glory. They can be like, yeah, I'm gonna chuck on this Arsenal top just because, you know, I want to show that, you know, I'm part of the team, part of the legacy and all that good stuff. And I'm just like, you're not. You this is performative football t-shirts. This is what this is. Performative football t-shirts. I didn't think I'd see the day, but I have seen it now. I've seen women, men of all varieties chucking on an Arsenal shirt, and I'm just looking at them and being like, you don't look like you've watched a football match a day in your life. Or have you stuck through a 90-minute game that wasn't the World Cup or the Euros? Please let me know if you have done so, because that is incredible. Because 90 minutes, that's a very long time, including commercials. That little break time and extra time, crazy. But yes, Arsenal, congratulations. I hate to see it, but hey, what can we do? We will not hear the end of it for the entire summer, for the entire year, or maybe even into next year. Who knows? We'll have to just wait and see. What have I been up to, or what have I seen? Well, recently on Instagram, because it's always Instagram, I was, going through and I came across this video, and it was about this girl. And, she's, I think her content is just her doing little story times with like herself or whatever. And she's talking about this trip that she took to Miami with her friends. I'm like, okay, cool. Why? I'm always curious why people put videos like that out there. In terms of, I'm going to tell you what's happened, and then I'll explain why I get a bit confused. So she goes to Miami with her friends, and she's like, okay, yeah, amazing. They've all got boyfriends. One of the friends is dating her brother. I'm like, okay, amazing, yeah. And she just goes on to say that, as soon as they got to Miami, all of them just started cheating. And they started like hooking up with random people, this, there, and everywhere. And I'm just a bit like, okay, this is, okay, where are you going with this? And isn't one of them dating your brother? I was like, okay, well, let her cook. Let's see what she's trying to do. And then she goes on to say, okay, yeah, so I wasn't going to have that because, that's my brother and I love him. I'm like, good for you. So, I've not only did I tell my brother that she was cheating, but I told all the other boyfriends that they were cheating. And I was just like, damn, wow. That's one way to lose your entire friend group. Within reason, of course. That's a very valid reason, especially if it's going against your moral compass and you're just like, no, I'm not having it. You're not cheating on my brother. You're not cheating on your boyfriends. You're not doing any of this. You're not doing any of this debaucherous behavior, and it's not going to go unpunished. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, fair enough. But also I was just like, I know you're trying to grow your following on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. But is this the type of stuff you want to be putting out into the world where you're just basically just ratting out your mates? I know, of course, it's a terrible thing and they should be held accountable, and they have been held accountable because, you've told their boyfriend. So, of course, it's going to cause some drama. They've lost a friend, this, that, and the other. You've saved your brother from a terrible, toxic, bad person. I love that for you. Amazing. However, putting it on the internet for content, don't get me wrong, it's given me something to talk about, which I'm like, amazing. I love that for myself. However, at the same time, just sort of sat here being like, damn, can I sit here talking to the camera with microphone in hand and just tell you about something shitty my friends have done, or something awful, or something terrible that I've done? I'm like, I don't think I could, unless it's something that I need to get off my chest, or I feel like it's something that's very important and it's going to benefit you or benefit myself in some sort of manner, like in a holistic way, in a very, like, I don't know, warm and fuzzy way, not in a monetarily sense. I think that makes sense. Yes. But yeah, for me, it just felt a bit, what are we doing here? And also, a girl's trip to Miami, fantastic. That sounds fun. Miami looks absolutely sick. For me, or at least in my head, I feel like it's the Americans' version of Ibiza or Magaluf or something of that variety. I feel like they go to Miami, and I think they go to one other place, because you guys got what's called spring break. I don't know what spring break is. I assume it's like that 2-week holiday you get during school, where I know it's the Easter holidays. It's you're going to Miami for the Easter holidays. I'm just like, fair enough. I don't know why that became a thing. Let me know why that is a thing, or is it because of marketing and all that, like like Coca-Cola and that bear and Santa Claus. Is it that kind of thing, or is it just something that just naturally occurred because more and more people just started going there, and then they just spread through, like, what's it? I can't remember. Mouth of word? Word of mouth. Mouth of word is stupid. Word of mouth. It spread through word of mouth. So do let me know. But yes, when I heard that story, I was just like, that's insanity. But you get a lot of those on, I think, Instagram and TikTok or whatever, where people are just exposing, and it's usually women. I'm gonna put my hands up and say it is usually women, but some men as well. And they're usually exposing some terrible stuff that they've done to somebody, or their friends, or their families, or their partners, or they're exposing their friends and their shitty behavior. And I'm just like, do you really want to be putting this out on the internet for everyone to see, to know that you are quite literally a terrible person? I mean, let them find out at least, like, through dating you and, and actually experiencing it firsthand. It's quite nice for you to put that disclaimer out, that PSA, and being like, hey, I'm, in fact, a terrible person, and I will expose every terrible thing that you have done. I'm like, that's really nice of you. That's a very nice disclosure before somebody gets involved with you in any capacity. But at the same time, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice, because you do want a job, yes? You do want to be, hired, not fired, in a committed relationship, in a committed friendship of some variety. And I'm just like, I feel like this just brings your stock down as a person. That Black Mirror episode with Bryce Dallas Howard, where it's very much your social currency, or your social currency is reflected in your day-to-day life, in what job you have, how you live, how people perceive you, how people treat you, and if your social points drop, it's the end of the world. Some people, do unspeakable things because their social points have dropped, and it's always just trying to, put this facade up, like, ha ha ha, amazing. I'm like, if we ever got into that dystopian kind of future where that kind of thing happened, you would be bankrupt. Like, I'm sorry to say, you would not be making it out. Also, these videos, I feel like, would not exist if that kind of Black Mirror dystopian future where everything is social currency. I feel like these kind of videos would not be a thing. People making a fool of themselves would not be a thing, which would be kind of sad, because I love a bit of tomfoolery. I love that. I love a bit of that. Speaking of tomfoolery, I'm not sure if everybody's seen, but you probably have. It's in America, everybody doing these raids on the Scientology building. And I'm just like, I think they call it speedrunning Scientology. And I'm just like, that is fantastic. I think one of them, they got a bunch of little people to run through Scientology. And I was just like, this is insane. And I'm surprised. Okay, one, I'm surprised nobody got arrested. Somebody probably did get arrested. I probably just haven't seen it. But I'm just like, the absolute balls to do that with Scientology. Like, for me, I don't know much about Scientology. I know it's got a bad rap, bad reputation, if you will say. And I know they've got a lot of famous people who do join the church. I'm not sure if it is a church. Let's just say it is a church. A lot of people who do join the church and they spend a lot of money. All I know is they have a lot of money and they do all kinds of crazy stuff, Dianetics. Exactly, I don't know what Dianetics is. I need to do some research. I'll put my hands up and say that. However, the fact that they are able to like do these modern raids on Scientology and the building, and I'm just like, this is fantastic. And I'm surprised this hasn't happened before, especially like during the prank era of YouTube, where everybody was doing all this like kind of crazy stuff. Well, then again, it was all fake, wasn't it? But when they were supposedly doing all this crazy stuff, I'm surprised nobody did like a Scientology speedrun then. It's like, hi guys, I'm gonna go and raid the Scientology building. To be fair, I think back in the day, that would have done numbers. I'm surprised Mr. Beast hasn't done that. That would be a crazy video, like $500,000 or $1 million if you can speedrun Scientology successfully in 1 hour or something of that sort. I think that sounds amazing, and I feel bad for the employees there. Of course, I think they're volunteers. I don't think they're employees. I think they're volunteers. My bad. The volunteers there, because of course I know they're part of Scientology, this, that, and the other. However, they're just trying to go about their day and recruit people to this church that they have. Another thing I've been running across on Instagram, TikTok, and all those kinds of, let's say, news sites. Let's call them news sites now. Yeah, because why not? Not social media, news sites. I've been running across these compilation videos of classic Disney films like Camp Rock, High School Musical, Up and Away? I swear that's one. But just like classic Disney films, like the live action ones with Disney stars. And I'm just like, yeah, this is amazing. And like, like Sweet Life on Deck and like the shows such as that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a good watch. And then I'm just like going over when they're doing like this supposedly cool stuff, or, they're trying to be like edgy, or they're doing something unique and quirky. And then when you watch it back as an adult, you're just like, bloody hell. Did I think this was cool? Radio Rebel is one of them, where she's like, I think my sister does it sometimes. It's like, pulling the hair back and be like, oh yeah, I'm so cool. Or Camp Rock, especially the second one, when they're going over to, declare war on Camp Star, I believe it was. Terrible name, by the way, Camp Star. But Camp Star. And instead of just walking over and being like, we challenge you to a duel or something like that in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're like, doing dance moves and shouting Camp Rock, and then you've got like, I think like Nick Jonas or somebody just like hitting his like drumsticks and walking, and they're just making these eyes. They're just making eyes at Camp Star, and Camp Star is just looking back at them, being like, what are you doing here? This isn't your territory. Also, why are you making those eyes at me? It's a bit uncomfortable. They were making uncomfortable eyes, I have to say. And what's her name? Demi Lovato, yeah, in that film, she was doing all sorts with her eyes, and she was just going for it. I was just like, all right, Demi, you do what you gotta do. And she goes up, she stops everybody dancing, like, in unison. I'm just like, this is very good coordination. I love this. And also, in the back of my head, when I was watching this back as an adult, as a grown man, I was just thinking, they must have coordinated this. They had a team meeting, being like, okay, guys, we are going to invade Camp Star and declare war, but we're not just going to go up, we're not going to march or anything like that. We're gonna do these, very nice, very easy, very jazzy dance moves and walk up to Camp Star. Actually, not even walk up, march up to Camp Star whilst shouting out Camp Rock, just so they know who we are and what we stand for. And I was a bit like, this is cringe, but at the same time, Demi, you do you. You lead that troop. You lead them to victory. And you let them know that Camp Rock is here to stay. Spoilers, they lose at the end of the film. However, it's very wholesome. And that blonde girl who was her enemy in the first one and then becomes her enemy in the second one because she goes over to Camp Star is like, hey, can we come back to Camp Rock? Because this campfire seems kind of cool and it seems very wholesome. And I want to come back to camp, even though I'm probably going to be 18 and I should really be looking at my university applications. But may I come back to camp? Sure, yeah, why not? Yeah, and then they're all friends by the very end. Amazing, wholesome. Also, I thought like Camp Star winning would have been the destruction of Camp Rock. It was not. It was not. Yeah. Camp Rock, Camp Rock. Camp Rock is the one I'm hitting on the most, just because I think it's the most egregious with these cringe compilations. I think there's one where I think one of the actresses, I think it's the actress who does the voice for Candace in Phineas and Ferb, I'm pretty sure. She's doing all this stuff on this keyboard, like, she's just playing on the keyboard. And when I tell you, it's like the most naff keyboard sound you've ever heard in your life. It's something you'd hear in like year 8 music classes. And I'm just sort of sat there being like, I thought this was incredible, because Demi over here turns around to her mate and she's like, she's amazing, she's great. And I'm just sort of being sat there like, as a kid, I'm like, Demi, you are right, you are correct, she is amazing. Look at those beats that she's laying down, and she's doing all these wavy hand motions, which were completely unnecessary, by the way. And she's, she's playing, she's, putting her hand behind her back and playing the keyboard that way. I'm just like, this is insane. And also, just because I am an actor and I've had some experience being on set, I know for a fact they probably didn't play any music on top or anything of the variety. Like, if you can hear, if you hear like the music being played, you can tell it's ADR, meaning it's added after production, in post production, and it's the music being laid on top of whatever she's doing. I'm just sort of sat there being like, it's slightly embarrassing, but also a job is a job. And if you can work in your field and do that, I have nothing but respect for you. That is a skill, if I may say so myself. Now, a bit about me. Now, a bit of London adventures. I know you want to hear. What have I been up to? What have I been doing? Well, I've been seeing some friends here, there, everywhere. Walking around London, exploring. But recently, when one of my friends came down, we were having this talk about Blank Street Matcha. Yes. As you know, I have not the best opinion of Blank Street Matcha. However, that opinion has been changed. Now, I don't think it's the most sensational thing on the planet. I don't think it's the most scrumptious matcha that you will get anywhere in this world. I do think it's commercialized matcha. However, it's probably the best of commercialized matcha. It's better than something that you're going to get in Nero or Costa or even Starbucks. I think they're very egregious. Or some random coffee shop that you go to. Like, even independent ones. Sometimes I'm just like, this is really like naff stuff. It's terrible stuff. It's powdered stuff, which is fair enough. Like, the powdered stuff, if that's all you can get, amazing. But then if I'm paying £4 to £5, which is insanity, sometimes up to £6 for a matcha or a matcha latte or whatever you want to call it, you want it to be the genuine stuff. You want it to be, organic. You want it to be all the healthy things, all the health benefits. This better give me a Zenkai boost. This better be like a senzu bean, and it just rejuvenates me from like death's door. Like, it better be something of that variety. But I'm just like, fair enough. It is what it is. I was a bit shocked though, because I wasn't aware that Blank Street Matcha, they make your coffee or whatever, or make your drink, and then they add the matcha at the end. And the way they do it, it's via shot glass, which I'm like, this is kind of interesting. Like, it's literally just a shot of matcha. And I'm just like, really? I'm paying for a matcha drink, and there's like a little bit of matcha in it, like a little shot. Like, give me something more than that. Like, this isn't coffee, where a shot of coffee goes a long way. 2 shots, you're bouncing off the walls, you're bouncing off the ceilings. You get what I mean? However, a shot of matcha, that's not going to do anything. Give me 2 shots, give me 3 shots, and they've already got it pre-made. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure if that's exactly how you make matcha. I believe it isn't. I'm pretty sure. I know if you do it the classic way, you got to get that little scraggly, I don't know, hairnet thing, and just like, you're dabbing it in the bowl, swishing it around, and that's how you make it. But yeah, I think it's cool. If you're into flavored drinks, if you want something trendy, flavored, and commercialized, if you want commercialized matcha, go and get yourself a Blank Street. It's nice, it's simple, and yeah, they've got a variety of flavors that aren't too bad. The one I think I got some sort of ginger drink. I think my friend got like a yuzu drink, or yuzu lemon something, and I knew that, I know there's like a blueberry one as well. That seemed really nice. I think for flavored drinks, I think they're very good in terms of variety. In terms of quality, I think they're probably average. Average is probably the best way to put it. But yeah, my opinion, a blank street matcha has been changed. Is it for the trendy Instagram, TikTok girls? Is it a bit performative? All of that is yes. Yes, it is. However, is it as bad as I thought it would be? No, it isn't. No, so it's not too bad. But a thing that I do want to hit on, especially since I've been in London, is people walking around with wired earphones. You know the classic ones. Where you used to have a headphone jack and you used to plug it in. Now it's a USB Type C, or if you've got a previous or like an old model iPhone where it's still the Lightning and you need the adapter, you've got that. And I see a lot of people in London wearing them. I don't see it anywhere else. Like whenever I go back to Bristol or London, not London. When I go to Bristol, Birmingham, Manchester, I've never personally seen it where people are walking around with wired earphones or people are actually jogging with wired earphones. And a part of me is like, that is insanity. Because recently my headphones have broken. So it's still workable, but it's like one of the ears, it's dangly and it just doesn't stay on your head. So I bought myself some wired earphones because I was like, yeah, why not? I see everybody else doing it and this is nostalgic, this is trendy. So I got some, very nice fitting. I put them on, I started walking, and all I can hear is this wire just banging against my chest and against my clothes and rustling. And because I'm so used to noise cancelling, or that level of noise cancellation, at least from my Sony headphones, I'm just hearing everything and everything. And I'm like, I know that's like first world problems and I'm just talking about headphones right now, but I'm just like, they're really uncomfortable. And especially when they get tangled. I forgot how annoying it was when these headphones got tangled. And like, there was a reason that I moved away from them. I think the perfect wired headphones, again, are those Bluetooth ones that go around your neck. Like, they're Bluetooth ones that have wires connecting both earpieces. They go around the back of your neck and you can put them in. I used to love them. For the gym, they were amazing. For walking around, they were perfect. And especially with some of them, they used to have a magnet on like the end of the headphone bit, or the earphone bit, my bad. And so you could just clip them together. So it would just become like this like earphone necklace that you could just have dangling around your head, and you wouldn't have to worry about getting it lost or getting it tangled. And you had like a volume button, you had a pause button. Like, it was just nice. It was a simpler time, to say the least. And they had anywhere between 18 to 40, I think, or 18 to 30 hours of like playback time, which was perfect in my opinion. I know a lot of people don't like wireless like earphones or like those Bluetooth earphones, just because you do have to charge them, and if you haven't charged them, it's a whole fiasco, this, that, and the other. However, I have to say, I bought myself some Sony XF5Ws, whatever it is, the Sony earphones, just because I used to have the version 3s, got the version 5s, put them in, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I've never been happier. I was just like, why did I buy those wired earphones? Why did I spend, I think I spent like £15. Again, for wired earphones, that's a lot in my opinion. I was just like, damn, these used to be like £8, a tenner back in the day, maybe even like a fiver, but now they're charging like 15. And I saw some ones that were like £30 for wired earphones, and I was just like, these better be the best wired earphones I have ever heard in my life. They better have noise cancelling as well, like just built into them, because how are you charging that much for wired earphones? That's how much the Bluetooth ones cost. But again, now the Bluetooth ones, sometimes they go up to £40 to £60. And I'm just like, that's extortionate. But I guess the landscape has changed. However, I do not know who's walking around with wired earphones. Wired earphones, I think they're amazing for when I'm sat down on my laptop, or yeah, again, if I'm not moving, I'll just put my wired ones in, because why not? Because I was like, okay, yeah, I want to charge my Bluetooth ones, chuck them in there. There we go, nice and easy. So, if I see you walking around with wired earphones, I will believe that this is all a performance. Again, this is the performative generation. This is the performance. Like, who is this for? Get yourself some wired Bluetooth earphones. They will change your life completely. And again, it's that constant banging. It's the constant, you've got to run it. If it's on the outside, it's banging against your clothes. If it's on the inside, you've got to wire it. Oh, there goes my bottle. But you've got to wire it, put it through like the end of your t-shirt or end of your like your jacket. That you got to plug it into your phone, and it's just I think I might be just complicating this, but I've just got I've got a love-hate relationship with it. On one end, it's nostalgic. I love that. And it just reminds me, again, I think I said this, like, I'm on a nostalgia trip. I love a bit of nostalgia. But on the other end, I'm just like, there's a reason technology moved away from this and that we are going towards more wireless stuff. I know it's annoying that you have to charge it, but also my earphones charge within like 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes. I confirm the 20 minutes on my fast charge, especially with fast charging. You confirm that 20 minutes and just live with it instead of going with these wired earphones that are just banging around and doing everything. I know I'm going on a whole tangent. I know I'm going on a rant, but I don't know. It's just something that I need to talk about because I see everybody, or not everybody, I see every other person in London wearing them. Especially, I've seen some runners wear them, and I'm just like, I know for a fact that is not comfortable. I know for a fact that is not convenient. Just because I used to run in wired earphones, and I remember how terrible they were when I was like 18, 19, and I was just like, who is this for? Because this isn't for you. This is for somebody else. This is for everybody to look at you and be like, wow, he's so retro, he's so vintage. And I'm just like, buddy, I know you've got the money. Just spend it. Just spend the money on some wireless earphones. And just to go off on another one, I have got another show recommendation. So if you are a Star Wars fan, especially a Clone Wars fan, a Rebels fan, you might be wondering what happened in between the last season of the Clone Wars and the start of Rebels. Where was Darth Maul? Well, you can watch Maul Shadow Lord. That show is amazing. It does Darth Maul correct. His lightsaber, it's amazing, because I was watching an interview with, I think his name is Sam Witwicker, I think that's his last name. Correct me if I'm wrong. He plays Starkiller in The Force Unleashed. He does the voice of Darth Maul in the Clone Wars and in Rebels and in Shadow Lord now. And he also does the voice of Emperor Palpatine in the Clone Wars series. And I think Palpatine does show up in Rebels. I think he does him there. And I think he does him in The Force Unleashed as well. He is an amazing voice actor, one of my favourites, and he is such a Star Wars nerd. The show is about the time in between the end of the Clone Wars, where Maul was captured and he escapes, to, Rebels, and it basically bridges the gap in between about what is Darth Maul doing. Essentially, he's just trying to bring back or build up his crime syndicate again that he established, I think, in the Clone Wars, where, he took over Mandalore, this, that, and the other. And it's about him trying to re-establish this and him gaining a new apprentice in, I believe her name is Devon. And it's about him basically, I think dealing with the trauma and the void that has been left with Palpatine abandoning him, torturing him for years, killing Savage, and also Maul trying to rebuild and reclaim and try to build something to fight against not only Palpatine, but Darth Vader and the Inquisitors. And I think it's I think it's the most human you see Maul. And I think it helps humanize him just a bit. I think it allows you to sort of get into his mind, have some sympathy for him, but I think you've got the idea as well that this guy is a villain. This guy is actively scheming. His scheming Sith ways haven't left him. They're still all there. They're just a little bit more subtle, I think. He's not as aggressive. Of course, he is aggressive, but he's not as impulsive as he is in the Clone Wars. He's a lot more thoughtful. He's strategic. He's trying to survive. He's a bit like the Jedi Runaways. He's trying to survive in this world where, he's being hunted and the rules have changed completely for him. He doesn't have this massive Mandalorian army, this massive crime syndicate, an apprentice, anything of the sort. It's just him against the world. And he runs across Devon and her master, and it's essentially about him trying to turn this girl, this Twi'lek girl, to the dark side and gain a new apprentice. Where this is going to go, I have no idea. However, all I'm going to say is I do recommend it. Inquisitors, amazing. The lightsaber fights and the animation, beautiful. You should definitely go and watch those interviews with Sam Witwicker, just because, again, I might be saying his name wrong, because he is an amazing actor, amazing voice actor. He knows so much about the lore. He's a absolute Star Wars nerd, fan, geek, whatever, which I'm amazing. I love that. And he cares, and he's good, and the show is good. and it teaches you so much about Darth Maul's mentality, especially in those interviews that he does. Why Darth Maul is doing certain stuff? Why is he trying to convert Devon? Why is he why is he in the position he's currently in? And what he's feeling, and what is the mentality, and where's he trying to go with everything. I think it's just an amazing show, and I do hope there's another season. There probably is another season, just because of how they left off the end of season 1. There's definitely going to be a second season. I'm not sure how it's going to end, or how many seasons they're going to have. I think tops they're going to have 4 seasons, nothing more than that. I'm very interested to see how they connect this to the Rebels series, because Darth Maul does appear in that, and when the Inquisitors first see him, they very much claim, oh, the Shadow lives. Darth Maul has returned, or Darth Maul is still alive. So this indicates to me, at some point during, Maul Shadow Lord, whatever the end season is, whether it's season 3, season 4, whatever, something's got to happen where Devon either redeems herself and goes away from Maul, or gets herself killed, and or Maul's got to sort of, I think, go into hiding or fake his death of some variety, to the point where the Inquisitors think that he's not around anymore, where it's only rumours, hints there and everywhere. But yes, that is my recommendation for Maul Shadow Lord. I think it's definitely a good watch, and I think you should be watching some of those interviews on YouTube with the voice actor, because he again is amazing. But yes, I think I will end the show, or end this episode, on that note. Thank you for watching another episode of A Fantastic Time with me, Taher Houssain.